Hello everyone, welcome to the Age Group Triathlon Podcast. My name is Simon Olney, I'm a professional triathlon coach, and in this week's episode, I want to help you overcome self-doubt as a triathlete. Now, this is something that is, self-doubt is part of the human condition. You know, we all have self-doubt. If we didn't, then can you imagine how the world would look if anyone who vaguely fancied to go at something had a go? You know, it would be chaos. People just turning up at an Ironman event without training, fueled purely by self-belief that they were going to complete that event. Can you imagine what that would be like? So I'm not going to try to completely remove self-doubt because that's not possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to help you work with it and understand when it's holding you back. Now, first thing I wanted to have a look at is where in triathlon is self-doubt going to hold us back? You know, where is it that this could affect us? And I mean, there are a number of different circumstances where self-doubt could influence us as triathletes. But let's start off at the top. And one area that I feel that holds a lot of people back is self-doubt that they could ever qualify for a World Championship event, because it's not for people like them. And they imagine that these World Championship events, they're filled with people who have been training for 20, 30 years, and that it's not for people like them. When the reality is that most people who started training when they were sort of really young, they would have been gone down a performance pathway, basically, where they would have specialised in swimming, cycling and running from an early age. And unless they made it onto British triathlon funding, chances are by the time they hit their 20s, they're burned out and they're done with the sport. They're not going to be turning up at a local triathlon looking to get a qualification to race in the age group championship because they had the Olympics in their head. That's what they were working towards for all these years. And after, no doubt years of relentless training and pushing their body hard, the idea of turning up and doing it at a purely amateur level, I imagine the vast majority of people, they just can't motivate themselves to do that. So who is it who turns up at these events then if it's not these ex-elite athletes who are dominating? Well, it's people who keep turning up year after year. It's people who trust the process. It's people who follow a long-term approach to their training and exercise and health. They do their strength training, do all they can to prevent injury, they look after their nutrition, and they keep showing up. And that is the key to qualifying for a World Championship event. For the vast majority of people, again, not everyone, for the vast majority of people, they could qualify for a World Championship event if they really put their mind to it. It could be that you aim for something that's a little more left field, such as you want to go for the aquabike team instead of, the sprint triathlon or Olympic triathlon teams, which are going to be a lot more competitive. But if you put your mind to it, if you work with the right people, if you surround yourself with the right people, there's nothing to stop you from achieving this goal except self-doubt. Now, speaking of surrounding yourself with the right people, what do you think is the biggest barrier between most athletes and working with a coach who would really help them? Now, you would have thought it would be financial, and, in a number of cases it is. But let's face it, a lot of triathletes, they have the disposable income to be able to work with someone, even if it's on a relatively loose basis, just having them write a bespoke training plan for them. The biggest reason that people aren't reaching out and emailing me or maybe even joining my free triathlon club is because they don't feel it's for them. They don't feel they're good enough. They don't feel like they're a proper triathlete. They think that it's for really elite people. It's for the very fastest athletes. But that's just not the case. My free online triathlon club or my bespoke coaching or even buying any of my plans is for anyone who wants to improve. It doesn't matter where you are, because I can help you get to that next level. But it's that voice in people's heads that's going, it's not for me, I'm not good enough, I'm not fast enough, I'll be wasting his time, It's this kind of negative self-talk that keeps people sort of really in a rut. And speaking of being in a rut, as well as people having self-doubt when it comes to qualifying for these big events or maybe even entering an event, in the first place, entering an Ironman in itself takes a lot of courage. It's the easiest part of the whole process, but that alone takes a lot of courage. It is people who don't believe they can get any faster. And I love working with these people because it's amazing that when I start actually setting them the right kinds of sessions, if I start steering in the right direction, and they start to see changes, they start to see movement in their fitness, in their speed, in their times. And what's held them back was self-doubt. Oh, I'm just not fast. I'm slow. I'm slow. I can't go any faster. I'm a plodder. I just do long distance and I'll take it all really slow. And look, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want people to do. But as part of my online triathlon club, I give away a free swim set every week. The swim set that we did last week, it had people doing 50-metre sprints with paddles, focusing really on generating force and propulsion with their arms. And one triathlete who is sort of very new to the sport, she came back and said, wow, that was really hard, but it made me realise just how much of a sort of a routine, of a rut that I got into with my slow swimming. And that's the kind of thing that helped elevate her out of that. By simply doing sessions which scare people, by having someone, whether it's a coach or a training plan or someone else, go, look, why don't we try this? Because I believe you can do it. Let's give it a go and see how it goes. That is how we can elevate ourselves out of this. I mean, like I say, there's nothing wrong with being slow, but most people would be faster given a choice. If you want to get faster, mixing things up, putting that self-doubt to one side and going, you know what, I'm going to back myself to do these hard interval sessions that I normally sort of miss. And yes, that is going to mean the potential of, losing face. If you can't finish that workout, you may feel a little downtrodden. It could be the case that you have sore muscles for a few days afterwards, but you need to have that self-confidence to step out of your comfort zone and really put yourself in a position where you can take yourself to the next level. Now, on the subject of self-doubt, I feel I should add a little bit of a disclaimer. For those who don't know me, well, I'm Simon Olney, I'm a professional triathlon coach, run my business Phase on Triathlon, and I am a white male in my 30s from a middle class background. I am just about as privileged as it gets, let's be honest, in a global sense at least. And for me, when I started triathlon, I thought to myself, well, I can swim a bit heads up breaststroke, and I've always enjoyed sort of riding a mountain bike around, and I'm sure I can teach myself to run. And I guess I just had that kind of, that pig-headed self-belief, that, what, I'm going to make this work. Because most things in my life that I've put my mind to, I've sort of managed to achieve eventually. I thought, right, triathlon is going to be no exception. And I went out and I had sort of a great deal of success. Whereas I know for a lot of people from different backgrounds, it's not that easy at all. In fact, I know that women struggle especially with this. We are heavily tilted as a sport. If I look at the listenership of this podcast, I think only 18% of listeners are female. At least from the analytics that I get from different software. And, I think a large part of this isn't due to any sort of lack of ambition. Obviously, when you look at issues surrounding childcare and the like and responsibilities around the home, that could be taken into consideration, definitely. But I think the reason we don't see at least a closer gap in genders is a lot of women, they just don't back themselves in the same way that men do. A lot of men, they'll have an approach of, oh, I'll have a go and I'll make it work. Whereas a lot of women, whether it's applying for jobs or taking on sort of a challenge such as a triathlon, that voice of self-doubt, it's just a bit louder for them and it's harder for them to drown out. Now, for anyone who is looking to take on a big challenge such as an Ironman, one of the first things you need to understand is that why. Because you need to have that behind you. There needs to be a little bit of motivation that's going to give you the kick up the backside to actually put your name down. To actually log onto the internet, to sign up for the race entry, to input your credit card information and to start that journey. Okay? Even if it's just taking the first step out the door with your training. To make the first step. And that first step, I mean, it's often the hardest. Especially, I mean, when I started the sport, I had very, very little experience in any kind of sort of physical exercise or sport. I mean, I walked around, I always enjoyed walking. I would class myself as being generally, broadly, a physically active person. And I think, my build definitely lends itself to running at the very least. But you sort of taking that first step, it's always going to be scary. It's always going to sort of raise doubts. I don't think anyone, except maybe for narcissists, has ever seen an event like a triathlon or like an Ironman and gone, that's it, I'll do that, no problem. I'm going to sign up right now and I'm going to smash it. Those people, I'm not going to say they don't exist, but they're few and far between. We all grapple with this sense of sort of imposter syndrome when we are sort of looking at signing up for these events. Now, imposter syndrome was something that came up a lot when I did my British Triathlon Level 3, the high performance coaching program. Sorry, high performing coach program. And it's the idea looking at, well, a lot of coaches, they didn't feel that they didn't feel like coaches, they didn't feel it was right for them. That they had this self-doubt that they were ever going to be good enough for the role, that they didn't deserve people's respect, they didn't deserve people to look up to them and to sort of see them as being a role model. This happens at all levels of, well, life, really. Again, there are going to be some exceptions, but it is very, very common for people to think, I don't belong, this isn't for people like me. But what's holding a lot of people back in this case is fear. It's a fear perhaps of looking silly. It could be a fear of failure. That is, obviously a very common one. People, they can't imagine how they would be able to cope with failing to achieve their goal, and they'd rather not try at all than have a go and fail. But fear, generally speaking, doesn't really help anyone, with the exception of maybe I'm not going to climb up this rickety ladder that's sort of really high up, or it's a case of let me go and stroke that snake. Sometimes fear is useful. However, in the vast majority of cases, it's just getting in our way. And again, it's a human emotion. It's a human reaction to something that's intimidating that could result in us feeling, sort of belittled, less, sad, anything that could, or even physical danger. But, it's not so much an issue with triathlon. But any chance for us to improve is going to come with some level of fear. It's going to be, if it's applying for a job, or it could be going on a date, asking your partner to marry you. There are all sorts of areas of life that will fill us with fear, even if we are more than qualified and experienced for that job role. Even if you have talked to your partner about marriage, even if that your success is almost guaranteed, there is almost always that level of fear in the back of your mind, that what if they've changed their mind, what if I look a fool of myself? Because let's be honest, in a lot of those situations there is the risk of that. The difference is, in triathlon, you are in control of the vast majority of your effort. So if you were to fail to finish a race, chances are the main reason for that would be you. Now, it could be, as a disclaimer, that you weren't able to get the training in that you needed because you needed to look after a family member. It could be that you were on the race course and somebody else crashed into you. There are always going to be sort of situations that happen that are going to be out of your hand. But as far as sports go, triathlon is a really solo effort. And this is a great way for those of us who are sort of low-level control freaks, which I think is a number of triathletes really, for us to be able to go out and to be able to really achieve something without having to rely on anyone else, without there being this unknown quantity. And we need to look this fear in the face, this fear of failure. We need to ask ourselves, who is this really helping? Because the chances are, it's no one. Nobody is being helped by this sense of fear. All it is doing is stopping you from achieving what it is that you're capable of. And these self-doubts, these fears, we need to question them. We need to look and we need to go, why am I feeling like this? An exercise that I like to do is when I'm chatting to people is, you in a way, you can keep asking them, why, until it is that they run out of steam. Again, not in a really sort of condescending way, but as an example, I think most of us as triathletes, we appreciate sort of road safety. And so if someone boasts to me, it's great being able to like rag my car, get up to 120 miles on the motorway. And if I wanted to be antagonistic instead of just sort of smiling and nodding and going, yeah, right, mate, I go, why do you do that? And they go, oh, because I want to go faster. I've got to get, okay, well, if you're going faster, what is it, where is it you're getting to? Oh, I've got to get to work. I want to get to work. Okay, so you want to get to work faster. And what is going to happen when you actually get there? Well, and you keep going down this this questioning. And you could even sit down and go, well, if you are speeding that much, okay, how much time is it actually going to save you between your destination? What is it you do with that time otherwise? How much would the speeding fine cost you? And you can simply keep asking these questions until they run out of sort of answers, really. And the answer at the end of the day to something like that is, I just want to. I enjoy it. If you talk to people who are, really big advocates about something sort of borderline controversial, like eating meat, and they will try to find all these mental gymnastics to try to prove to you how eating meat is actually better for the environment than eating sort of more plant-based sources. And yes, there are some arguments out there, but the argument at the end of the day is, I like the taste, I like the texture, and it's an easy way for me to get all sorts of nutrients and nutrition. Yeah, that's the answer. But instead of wrapping it up, instead of trying to justify it to yourself in that way, if you're just honest with yourself and just accept that you like doing it, that is reason itself to do it. I mean, okay, speeding down the motorway, you are putting other people at danger. Okay, I definitely don't condone that. But if somebody chooses, they look at all the research and they go, you know what, I want to eat meat. Sure, that's not a huge deal. I mean, I, as an environmentally minded fellow, might sort of think to myself, I would never pretend to lecture somebody about things, that, if we all cut down on the meat we ate, then that would probably have a positive impact. But rather than trying to tie ourselves in knots, just go, well, this is something that I want to do because I like it. And we need to use that same line of questioning. We need to use that same approach when it comes to our fears. So if I am thinking of signing up for my first triathlon, then I could come up with a list of reasons why not to. I go, oh, well, I would sign up for this race that, a part of me wants to do. But I'm worried of looking silly. Okay, well, what is it specifically that you are worried about looking silly doing? Oh, well, I can't really swim. I'd just be doing breaststroke. Okay, well, for a start, you would not be the first person doing breaststroke at all. Oh, okay, well, I don't know how to, I'd like to swim front crawl, but I don't know how to. Okay, well, if you work with a coach, that could help you improve your technique. Yeah, but I don't really have a bike. It's in the back of the shed. It's not a very good one. Well, if it's just your first short race, you don't need a good bike. You can take it out. You can give it the once over for a safety check. Go out for a couple of rides on it, and then that could be fine. And you just use the same level of reasoning like we did for somebody who's trying to justify speeding. But we use it instead to break down our own fears and our own preconceptions over reasons that we can't do things until we ask enough questions of ourselves that we realise, hang on a minute, there is actually no good reason for me not to do this. It's just me trying to find reasons, trying to find excuses to hold me back. Now, once you have broken down these barriers of self-doubt and you have sort of understood your fears and why actually they're probably not especially qualified fears and how you could actually overcome these, the next thing you need to do is you need to surround yourself with good people. Now, for some people, that could be hiring a coach such as myself. For other people, it could be simply telling their partner or announcing on social media that you have this target. You know, in 2026, my goal is to qualify for the 70.3 World Championships. And when you put that out there, you will have people who will, hopefully, if you've got good friends around you, go, that's amazing. Like, I'm so proud of you for attempting something like this. This is incredible. What's the plan? Which race are you going to qualify at? You know, and what are you looking to do? And when you have people who then come in and they back you, that goes a huge way to sort of to undoing this self-doubt. Now, this self-doubt, it will be there. You will have this big boost when you make this announcement of the first few weeks of training. You're going to be fresh, you're going to be motivated, you're going to be excited to be able to sort of to show everybody what it is that you can do. And that will start to wane a little bit as time goes by. You know, you will have times when you are especially tired, fatigued. It feels like such a long way to the event that you just can't get your head around sort of maintaining things. But that's okay. These self-doubts are normal. What's important is trying to ask yourself, is this my mind playing tricks with me? Or is there a genuinely sort of physiological need for me to back off? Now, something else to help you overcome self-doubt is to look at what it is that people with sort of less than you, in a less privileged position than you, have been able to achieve. Now, it makes me feel slightly uncomfortable when you have para-athletes who are competing and everybody talks about how inspirational they are, because it just feels a bit icky to me. You know, these people, they're out there, they're doing their best, they're competing in their sport, and everywhere they go, they have people saying how inspirational they are when they're just doing what they love. And so whilst that does make me feel a bit uncomfortable, if you are someone who is sat there going, I'd love to sign up to an Ironman, but I just don't think it's for me, and then you see an amputee cross a finish line, you do have to ask yourself, okay, well, if they manage that, maybe I could too. You know, is what's between me and my goal really greater than what it is that they had to overcome to get themselves there? But a lot of people, they will feel that they are on the back foot when it comes to sport because of, well, it could be their gender, it could be their build, it could be their background. There are all sorts of reasons why somebody may think, that's not for me. But if you follow Iron Man on social media or, you know, any other sort of race organiser really, and you have a look, because they will post up on their YouTube or their Instagram or TikTok or wherever it is, they will post videos from the finish line at their event. And when you take the time to watch people who are making their way over the Ironman finish line at 16 hours and 54 minutes, if you look at the variety in backgrounds of people, the different shapes, different sizes, the different ages of people, then that should hopefully give you a bit of inspiration. That should hopefully make you think, well, hang on a minute, maybe I could do that too. If you see yourself in those people. Now, it could well be that there was an 80-year-old that finished at Kona not long ago in the autumn. She would have probably had to work as hard, relatively, as a sort of a 20 or 30 something that would be looking to go sort of under 10 hours. Of course, a lot of these people, they are facing a bit more of an uphill battle than others, but it's not to say that it can't be done. And another mistake people make when they look at triathlon is that they look at everything through too short a lens. Instead of asking themselves, could I complete an Ironman in September? Because I'm looking at one. What they really need to be asking themselves is, could I work my way up to Ironman in 5 years' time? And that is a very different question. And that can really help eradicate that self-doubt and be able to help you get started on this journey by going, well, hang on a minute, let's break this down. Rather than it being this huge goal that is an intimidating goal in a short time frame, why don't I zoom out a little bit and just start with a few little sort of sessions here and there. Just get started with my training. Maybe do my first sprint this year and maybe work up to an Olympic the year after that and build it up in a slow fashion. Okay, that can really help this goal seem less intimidating. It can help remove some of that self-doubt, because I'm telling you, when I first started triathlon, if somebody said to me, great, do an Ironman at the end of that first year, I would have laughed in their face. It actually took me 7 years between my first triathlon and my first Ironman, because sort of partly due to self-doubt. I mean, the fact is I was having a lot of fun doing the shorter stuff and improving there. The fact is I didn't think it was for me. I found it intimidating. There was that self-doubt there. I'm definitely not immune to this. But it's by turning up, by doing the shorter races, by improving, by learning, that I slowly started to break down these barriers in my mind between where I am now and where it is that I wanted to be. Something else that people suffer with when it comes to preparing and getting ready for a goal is finding reasons to put it off. Okay, and this can partly be down to some bad advice they've got given by some people, but they will find ways to sort of to dither and to delay a little bit. It could be a case of, oh well, I need to lose weight before I start my training. No, you don't. You can have a period of sort of low intensity and volume with a focus on the calorific deficit. But even if you decide that, no, I definitely need to lose weight, well, why? What is it that you feel is going to be holding you back? Because if you actually look at the numbers that I've looked at in some articles that I've done, and you look at how much it is that weight actually costs people, it's not an awful lot at all. We're talking really, really, quite marginal gains relative to focusing on fitness. Now, this is a good time of year to be focusing on losing body weight. Don't get me wrong, this is the best time of year to do that. However, it shouldn't be holding you back from actually starting your training, because it's a bit of sort of a delaying tactic. And there's another habit that people have of sort of waiting for the stars to align before they start a training plan. It could be that you are simply waiting for, oh well, when work dies down a bit, when the kids grow up, when I've got a bit more money, when I've got this, and we can find ourselves, we can put out a long stream of excuses and reasons why it is that we can't commit to this, which at the end of the day comes down to this self-doubt. We're stalling for time. We don't quite believe in ourselves or the program, and we're trying to find reasons. Oh well, I would, but it's just no. You need to get started. Okay, rather than trying to find reasons to talk yourself out of it. If you are ready, if you are driven, if you want to achieve this goal, you need to pick yourself up. You need to stop finding reasons not to do something, and you need to back yourself and go, the only way I'm going to achieve this is if I make a start today. Now, we should not go flying out of the gates working super hard, super soon, in an attempt to sort of try to impress ourselves or other people. Go hard, go home. I really want you to avoid that mindset, but still, we need to start making those first steps. We need to go, look, this self-doubt, okay, I'm going to try and break it down. I'm going to stop sort of finding reasons. I'm going to stop looking for reasons not to start, not to target this, and I'm going to instead take a more proactive approach and go, how can I make this happen? So It's been a shorter episode this week. It's not a subject I want to dwell on too much. There's only so many times that I can, really try to build you up before it starts to get a little bit tiresome. However, I really hope this is going to help you have the courage to take on a big, hairy, audacious goal, to sign up to the event, to have the minerals to go, I'm going to try and qualify to represent my country. I'm going to have a go to try and enter this huge competitive race. I'm going to take on an extreme triathlon. I'm going to take on a double Ironman. Whatever it is in your head that you're doubting yourself, to try to really rationalise that, to try to really understand that, and then take that information and turn it into a plan, and turn that plan into training. So I hope this helps you to be able to rationalise things, to sign up for the event, to register your intent to qualify with your national governing body, for you to reach out to me if you want some guidance with your training, or even just to join my free online triathlon club, which you can access via the app. The link is down in the show notes. Okay, I really hope this has set you on a path of trying to understand exactly why you are feeling this level of self-doubt and how to overcome that and become the person that you want to be. Wishing the very best of luck with your training in the week ahead. I'll see you all next Tuesday morning.